The worst time to sell a motorcycle usually announces itself. This time, it didn't. Used bike inventory surged quietly, while riders were focused elsewhere. Demand cooled without headlines, prices slipped without panic, and timing replaced brand loyalty almost overnight. By the time many owners noticed, the market had already moved against them. What caused values to slide without warning? Which models felt the pressure first? And how much room remains before prices reset even lower? Today we're breaking down 10 motorcycles now flooding the used market, not because they failed, but because supply finally caught demand off guard. Missing this window changes everything. Number 10. Harley-Davidson Iron 8.83. Once considered the honest doorway into American V-twin ownership, this machine earned trust by being simple, approachable, and mechanically familiar. It carried countless riders through their first long weekends, first wrenching lessons, and first real miles beyond town limits. That reputation still matters, but the market around it has changed in ways loyalty cannot stop. Years of steady production created a quiet surplus. As riders aged, upgraded, or parked riding altogether, trade-ins stacked up behind dealership walls. Nothing catastrophic failed here. Frames stayed straight, engines stayed durable, and parts remained easy to source. The problem became visibility. When a bike is everywhere, urgency disappears, and buyers start negotiating from a position of patience. For experienced riders, the appeal remains straightforward. The riding position is natural, the maintenance routine familiar, and the power delivery predictable. It feels like a motorcycle built before marketing departments chased screens and software updates. That honesty still resonates, especially with those who value reliability over spectacle. Yet resale value answers to math, not memory, and math punishes abundance. Ownership today feels different than it once did. Insurance stays reasonable, service knowledge is widespread, and aftermarket support remains deep. But prospective buyers see row after row of similar machines and hesitate. They know time is on their side. Sellers feel that shift immediately when offers come in softer than expected. This is not a warning about quality or heritage. It is a lesson about scale. When an entry-level icon is built too well and too often, it eventually saturates its own audience. Riders who understand markets recognize this pattern from trucks, boats, and even touring rigs. The Iron remains a solid motorcycle, but its value now reflects supply reality more than emotional history. That tension quietly defines its place in today's used market for seasoned riders nationwide. Engine size registers at 883 cubic centimeters. Torque produces 53 pound-feet. Braking uses an anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses conventional forks and twin rear shocks. Wet weight totals 564 pounds, approximately. That reality sets the stage for a machine that tried to rewrite tradition and paid a different price for it. Number 9. Harley-Davidson Sportster S. Change is rarely welcomed by riders who value continuity, and this machine arrived carrying more questions than answers. It was meant to signal a new direction, blending modern engineering with familiar attitude, yet many longtime owners paused before accepting it. The look felt sharper, the sound different, and the message less certain. For a generation raised on air cooling and mechanical simplicity, that shift landed cautiously. What followed was not rejection, but hesitation. Some appreciated the performance leap and lighter feel. Others worried about complexity, long-term service, and whether tradition was being traded for trends. When uncertainty enters the room, buying decisions slow. That hesitation matters in a market already crowded with options and second thoughts. On the road, the experience is undeniably quick. Throttle response is immediate, and the chassis feels tighter than expected. It rewards aggressive riding more than relaxed cruising, which quietly narrows its audience. Riders who spend days chasing horizons rather than corners often prefer a calmer rhythm, and that preference shapes resale demand. Ownership conversations now focus less on excitement and more on fit. Insurance, electronics, and unfamiliar architecture make cautious buyers pause. This is not fear, but calculation. Experienced riders know that being first to adopt change carries risk, especially when resale depends on broad acceptance. None of this erases the effort behind the design. It represents ambition and technical progress, and it performs exactly as promised. The challenge is alignment. When a motorcycle sits between generations, it can struggle to find firm footing. In the used market, clarity matters as much as capability, and confusion softens pricing faster than flaws ever could. That pause reshaped listings nationwide, leaving sellers patient, buyers selective, and values drifting lower without drama or mechanical scandal alone. Horsepower measures 120, engine size registers at 1,252 cubic centimeters, torque produces 94 pound-feet. Braking uses an anti-lock braking system, suspension uses inverted forks with rear monoshock, wet weight totals 502 pounds. That hesitation opened the door to a motorcycle whose problem was never doubt, but sheer overexposure. If this breakdown is hitting close to home, take a second to like this video, subscribe for the next chapters, and share your own experience in the comments. Your input helps surface what riders are seeing before the market shifts. Number 8. Harley-Davidson Street Glide. Long before dashboards grew crowded and fairings grew sharp, this motorcycle became the benchmark for American touring comfort. Riders trusted it to cross states without drama, carry gear without complaint, and settle into highway miles like it was built for nothing else. That reputation still holds, but success created a new problem that experience recognizes immediately. During the boom years, this platform was the safe choice. Dealers stocked them deeply, buyers financed them confidently, and resale felt guaranteed. When demand cooled, the used market filled fast. Nothing broke, nothing failed. There were simply too many identical machines chasing fewer buyers, and abundance changed the conversation. For riders who value long days in the saddle, the appeal remains obvious. Wind protection works, stability inspires confidence, and ergonomics favor endurance over excitement. It is a motorcycle that rewards patience and steady throttle, not urgency. That strength, however, also means many owners keep them carefully maintained, feeding the growing supply when they eventually sell. The challenge now is perception. When listings stretch page after page, buyers slow down. They compare years, colors, and accessories instead of rushing to secure one. Experienced riders understand that this is not rejection, but leverage shifting sides. Pride in ownership remains, yet resale expectations adjust quietly. This situation does not erase its legacy. It remains a trusted long-haul machine with proven road manners and familiar service requirements. What has changed is the market rhythm around it. Touring bikes live and die by confidence, and confidence softens when choice feels endless. That reality forces owners to rethink timing, upgrades, and expectations, especially those planning retirement miles. Holding longer may make sense, but selling later might not improve leverage. Markets move without sentiment, and seasoned riders learn to move with them wisely. Engine size registers at 1,868 cubic centimeters. Torque produces 122 pound-feet. Braking uses a reflex-linked anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses dual bending valve forks with rear emulsion shocks. Wet weight totals 829 pounds approximately. From overfamiliar touring staples, the list shifts toward a bike driven more by image than miles. When used values move like this, long-term reliability matters more than brand badges. I've linked the maintenance gear and ownership tools I personally trust in the description. Nothing flashy, just equipment that holds up when bikes change hands and dealer support thins out. Number 7. Indian Scout Bobber. At first glance, this motorcycle speaks through stance rather than history. Low bars, chopped fenders, dark finishes, and a stripped attitude pulled in riders who wanted something bold without excess. It looked modern but still mechanical, aggressive without pretending to be delicate. That visual punch carried it far when style ruled buying decisions. The appeal came fast. Riders who wanted a clean garage presence gravitated toward it, especially those stepping away from heavier touring machines or oversized cruisers. The riding position felt compact, the throttle response lively, and the overall experience more playful than traditional long-haul rigs. For short rides and local cruising, it delivered exactly what the image promised. Over time, however, priorities shifted. As miles accumulated, comfort questions grew louder. Limited wind protection, a firm seat, and reduced suspension travel reminded owners that this machine favored appearance over endurance. That reality does not bother everyone, but it narrows the long-term audience, especially among riders who value all-day comfort. The used market reflects that narrowing clearly. Style-driven demand moves in waves. When tastes change or riding habits evolve, listings build quietly. Nothing is mechanically wrong here. Reliability remains solid, and maintenance is straightforward. The issue is longevity of desire, not longevity of parts. Experienced riders recognize this pattern from decades past. Motorcycles built around image surge early, then settle quickly once the novelty fades. Touring machines age with miles, style machines age with fashion. That distinction matters when evaluating ownership beyond the first few seasons. This motorcycle still earns respect for what it is. It delivers character, manageable size, and a strong engine in a clean package. It simply asks buyers to be honest about how they ride. For those planning longer days and heavier miles, priorities tend to shift, and the market follows that shift without hesitation. Horsepower measures 94, engine size registers at 1133 cubic centimeters, torque produces 72 pound-feet, braking uses an anti-lock braking system, suspension uses telescopic front forks with twin rear shocks, wet weight totals 558 pounds. That tension between style and endurance leads straight into a machine shaped by nostalgia and time itself. Number 6. Harley-Davidson Heritage Classic. There was a time when this motorcycle felt like the safe answer for riders who wanted tradition without excess. Leather bags, wide fenders, and a riding position that felt immediately familiar made it a natural choice for long weekends and relaxed miles. It carried the look many riders grew up trusting, and that trust still runs deep. What changed was not the machine itself, but the audience around it. Riders who wanted this style largely bought one years ago and held on to it. Newer riders tend to look elsewhere, chasing lighter weight or more modern design cues. That quiet demographic shift matters more than most realize, because resale strength depends on fresh demand, not past loyalty. On the road, the Heritage still delivers exactly what it promises. The ride is calm, predictable, and comfortable over distance. Wind protection works without drama, and the chassis encourages steady cruising rather than aggressive riding. For riders who value rhythm over rush, it still feels right. That honesty remains one of its strongest traits. Yet, honesty does not guarantee market momentum. When buyers age out faster than replacements arrive, listings linger longer. Owners notice softer offers and longer selling windows, even when condition is excellent. Nothing mechanical pushed this machine here. Reliability remains solid, service knowledge is widespread, and parts availability is rarely questioned. This situation mirrors patterns seen across other heritage-driven vehicles. When a design stays faithful for too long, it risks becoming invisible to new buyers while aging gracefully for existing ones. That balance is difficult to maintain, especially in a market adjusting to tighter budgets and shifting tastes. For experienced riders, the takeaway is simple. This motorcycle still makes sense to own and ride, but expectations around resale must align with current realities. Value now follows demand curves, not nostalgia alone. And seasoned riders understand when to separate emotion from timing. Engine size registers at 1,746 cubic centimeters. Torque produces 119 pound-feet. Braking uses an anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses telescopic front forks with rear adjustable shocks. Wet weight totals 728 pounds approximately. Respect earned over decades does not always protect a bike built for a shrinking audience, as the next entry shows clearly. Number 5. Harley-Davidson Low Rider S. Power has always carried respect, and this motorcycle earned it the moment riders twisted the throttle. The stance is aggressive, the posture leans forward, and the intent is obvious before the engine ever fires. It speaks to riders who want muscle without excess chrome and authority without apology. That message resonated strongly at first, especially among those who remembered performance-first cruisers from earlier decades. What followed was admiration paired with restraint. Riders respected what it could do, but fewer committed long-term. The riding position favors shorter, harder runs rather than all-day cruising. Wind protection is minimal, and comfort takes a backseat to control. For some, that trade is worth it. For others, especially those planning serious miles, the appeal narrows quickly. In the used market, that narrowing becomes visible. Performance cruisers tend to live between categories. They are not full tourers, and they are not lightweight standards. When markets tighten, buyers often choose versatility over specialization. That choice is not a criticism of capability, but a reflection of priorities, shifting with age and experience. Owners who ride aggressively still speak highly of the chassis and braking. The power delivery feels immediate and confident, and the suspension handles spirited riding better than traditional cruisers. Maintenance remains familiar, and the mechanical layout does not intimidate seasoned hands. What limits demand is not trust, but fit. This motorcycle asks riders to be honest about how they ride now, not how they rode years ago. Those who still chase back roads and quick bursts will appreciate it deeply. Those who favor distance, comfort, and relaxed posture often move on. The used market captures that reality without emotion. Respect remains strong, but respect alone does not guarantee liquidity. Value follows the broadest audience, and this machine speaks most clearly to a focused group. Seasoned riders recognize that distinction and plan accordingly. Engine size registers at 1,917 cubic centimeters. Torque produces 125 pound-feet. Braking uses a dual-disc anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses inverted front forks with rear monoshock. Wet weight totals 670 pounds. When focus narrows too far, even strong performance can struggle against broader rider priorities. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Fat Boy 114. Long before spec sheets mattered, this motorcycle announced itself through silhouette alone. Wide, solid wheels, stretched proportions, and a presence that felt immovable gave it instant recognition on any road. Riders did not choose it quietly. They chose it because it projected strength, permanence, and confidence without explanation. That image carried real weight for decades. Time, however, changes what riders ask from a machine. What once felt commanding can begin to feel demanding. The same mass that delivered planted stability now raises questions about maneuvering, storage, and long days in the saddle. Experienced riders notice these shifts first because comfort and control matter more than statement once miles accumulate. The riding experience remains unmistakable. Torque arrives early and stays present, making relaxed cruising its natural habitat. Straight-line confidence is strong, and the chassis feels composed at highway speeds. Yet around town or in tight spaces, weight becomes part of every decision. That trade-off is not a flaw, but it narrows the audience over time. In the used market, that narrowing shows clearly. Buyers admire the look, then pause to consider practicality. Aging riders downsize. Newer riders hesitate to commit. The result is slower turnover, not because desire vanished, but because priorities shifted. Ownership still brings pride, yet resale no longer benefits from urgency. This motorcycle remains an icon, but icons must still fit modern use. When riding plans change from weekend showpiece to long-distance comfort, choices evolve. That evolution happens quietly and consistently, shaping demand without headlines or controversy. What keeps respect intact is honesty. The machine does exactly what it always promised. It looks bold, rides solid, and carries heritage visibly. What it does not do is pretend to be something else. Markets reward flexibility, now more than image, and that reality places it here on the list. Engine size registers at 1,868 cubic centimeters, torque produces 122 pound-feet. Braking uses a reflex-linked anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses front cartridge forks with hidden rear monoshock. Wet weight totals 699 pounds. Icon status can carry a machine only so far once ownership realities begin to outweigh presence. Number 3. Harley-Davidson CVO Pro Street Breakout. Attention has always followed machines built to stand apart, and this one never tried to blend in. Long, low, and unapologetically bold, it arrived as a statement rather than a compromise. Every surface signaled excess, confidence, and individuality. Riders who chose it wanted something unmistakable, something that felt more like a declaration than transportation. That approach worked. When confidence was high and credit felt easy, exclusivity carried weight, and custom-level detailing justified the premium. Over time, however, the market began asking different questions. Practicality, versatility, and long-term comfort gained importance. When priorities shift, highly specialized machines feel the change first. The riding experience remains dramatic. Power delivery is immediate, and the stance commands attention at every stop. It thrives in straight lines and open stretches, rewarding measured throttle with strong response. Yet comfort takes a secondary role. Suspension travel is limited, and longer rides demand patience. Riders planning distance often reconsider after the novelty fades. In the used market, this creates hesitation. Buyers admire the presence, then calculate ownership realities, insurance, maintenance, and riding comfort factor into decisions more heavily than image. That calculation does not diminish the machine's craftsmanship, but it narrows the pool of willing owners. Exclusivity also carries a timing risk. When released near the peak of demand, premium machines face sharper adjustments as conditions normalize. This is not failure, but correction. The market reassesses what rarity is worth when choices increase and urgency declines. What remains undeniable is the build quality. Fit, finish, and detail exceed standard production. It represents the high watermark of factory customization. For riders who value that expression and ride accordingly, it still delivers satisfaction. For others, it becomes a reminder that standout design does not always align with evolving riding habits. Seasoned riders recognize this pattern. Machines built for impact age differently than those built for miles. Respect remains strong, but respect alone does not sustain demand when practicality takes the lead. Engine size registers at 1,923 cubic centimeters. Torque produces 127 pound-feet. Braking uses a premium anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses inverted forks with hidden rear monoshock. Wet weight totals approximately 740 pounds. That clash between exclusivity and practicality points toward a touring giant facing its own limits. Number 2. Indian Roadmaster Classic. Comfort used to be the ultimate selling point in American touring. Long saddles, wide fairings, and engines built to pull without strain made sense to riders planning serious miles. This motorcycle was designed squarely for that purpose, offering stability, smoothness, and a sense of calm that rewarded patience over aggression. For many, it represented the idea of riding without rushing. That mission still defines the experience today. The ride remains composed, the seating generous, and the road manners predictable even after hours on the highway. Torque arrives early and stays steady, making relaxed cruising effortless. For riders who value consistency over flash, it continues to deliver exactly what it promises. Where the picture changes is ownership perspective. Size and weight, once signs of authority, now trigger practical questions. Maneuvering at low speeds, storage space, and long-term service costs weigh heavier in decisions than they once did. As riding years accumulate, some owners reassess how much motorcycle they truly need. The used market reflects that reassessment clearly. Buyers admire the comfort, then pause to consider scale. Newer riders often look for lighter platforms, while experienced riders downsize to simplify ownership. That shift does not reflect dissatisfaction, but evolution. Markets respond quickly when preferences change gradually. Technology and features also shape perception. Integrated systems add convenience, yet complexity raises concerns for riders who prefer mechanical familiarity. When touring becomes less about crossing states and more about managing comfort close to home, simpler solutions gain appeal. This motorcycle still earns respect. Build quality remains solid, the engine proven, and the touring intent unmistakable. It simply faces a narrower audience than it once enjoyed. In a market adjusting to new realities, even well-executed designs must adapt to shifting expectations. Seasoned riders understand this cycle. What once felt essential can become excessive without warning. The road has not changed, but how riders approach it has. That understanding places this machine near the top of the list, not because it failed, but because priorities moved on. Engine size registers at 1,811 cubic centimeters. Torque produces 126 pound-feet. Braking uses a dual-disc anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses telescopic forks with electronically adjustable rear suspension. Wet weight totals 929 pounds. All of this builds toward a final example that proves success itself can become a liability. Number 1. Harley-Davidson Road Glide Special. Long-distance riders once treated this motorcycle as the safest bet in the showroom. Fixed fairing stability, predictable road manners, and a cockpit built for hours of steady riding made it feel like a tool, not a toy. It was chosen by riders who planned miles instead of posing for photos, and that reputation carried real weight for years. During the surge in touring demand, this platform became the default choice. Dealers stocked them heavily, buyers financed them confidently, and resale felt guaranteed. That success created its own pressure. When riding slowed and priorities shifted, the used market filled quickly. Nothing changed mechanically, but perception shifted as availability grew. On the highway, the experience still delivers. The fairing cuts wind cleanly. Stability improves confidence at speed, and the riding position supports long days without fatigue. It remains one of the most capable distance machines ever built for American roads. That capability, however, is now widely shared across countless examples sitting in similar condition. Experienced riders understand what happens next. When buyers see options everywhere, urgency fades. Decisions slow, negotiations favor patience, pride in ownership stays intact, but leverage moves quietly to the other side of the table. This is not rejection of the machine. It is the market reacting to saturation. Ownership today feels familiar and predictable. Maintenance knowledge is deep, aftermarket support remains unmatched, and long-term reliability is well understood. Those strengths still matter deeply to riders who value function over novelty. What has changed is how much those strengths influence price in a crowded field. This motorcycle did nothing wrong. It succeeded too well, too consistently, during a moment when demand seemed endless. Now it sits at the intersection of trust and excess. For seasoned riders, that makes it both desirable and negotiable, depending on timing and expectations. Understanding that balance is the key lesson here. When a platform becomes the standard, it also becomes vulnerable to volume. Respect remains strong, but value now answers to supply first, sentiment second, and experience teaches when to recognize that shift. Engine size registers at 1,868 cubic centimeters. Torque produces 122 pound-feet. Braking uses a reflex-linked anti-lock braking system. Suspension uses dual bending valve forks with rear emulsion shocks. Wet weight totals approximately 829 pounds. Seen together, these machines tell a clear story about how experience, timing, and supply now shape value more than reputation ever could. Used markets shift quietly, then lock in fast. Drop a comment with what you're seeing, locally prices falling, listings piling up, or bikes sitting longer than they used to. That ground-level insight helps riders stay ahead instead of reacting late. Hitting like keeps experience-driven analysis visible, and subscribing ensures you don't miss the next model's sliding as this cycle continues. Timing matters more than ever right now.